Hi, thank you for joining me. I'm Christie with the Sunlight Mentor team, and I am here to talk about some recent questions that I've been getting as you've been planning, and thank you for reaching out with those questions. We're happy to help with those, so if you have questions, definitely check in with a mentor. We would be glad, or ask your question in the app. We love to answer questions and help out however we can. So that's why we're here, and we are glad you are here as you join, if you will. Tell us if you're watching the replay later. Down below, if you have any questions, feel free to tell us those. And I see people joining. Thanks for joining today. We're covering again recent questions that people have asked as they're planning for the new year, just different things that I have seen. Okay, one of the top questions that I have received over the years and this year as well is about getting into a groove with language arts. And you can hear about that in the app. You see different questions popping up about the language arts. And I have some ideas. I took a little time as I've been hearing these questions, and I thought through this a lot the last couple of weeks. And I was remembering back because I have 4 very different learners, and we love language arts. And so I was thinking back, that has not always been the case. Early on, there was a time where I was thinking, is the grass greener on the other side? Is there another language arts program out there that would help us? And there was a very popular one that everyone in my homeschool, or not everyone, but a big chunk of my homeschool community was trying. And so I got that program mid-year one year, and didn't get maybe 3 weeks in, I got frustrated and I went back to Sunlight, and I've never looked back. So that's my experience, just full disclosure. And so, but I thought through it, and I have some ideas today. And I don't know if they will be what will help you. If what I say today isn't helpful, that we have advisors you can check in, and you can always ask questions in the app. The more specific you are with the trouble that you're having, the better we can help. So basically, I've had huge success with students who are excelling in all the language arts subjects. And also I've had success with a student that had to regain language. And so I have very different learners in my house, and it has worked well with all 4 of my guys. So that's where I'm coming from. He had to regain language, my son, after a medical crisis. So he had to start with speech therapy. He lost, at a young age, back to 6 months when he was a toddler, and he had to regain language literally. And he was always struggling in those elementary years with language. And so with him, we had a great experience, and with all of our boys as well. The one that was, ready, and I felt he could have started in language arts with maybe 2 levels ahead of where my friend who had done Sunlight recommended. And she ended up talking, she was a friend from college. She ended up talking to me and helping me with placement so that I didn't place him too far along, and that was a big help. So really, with placement can be a big thing. If you think that your student could be reading at this level, or doing language arts for at different levels, there are things that you can play with placement. And so definitely ask questions about placement to an advisor, or that you can talk with on the phone, or with one of us that you can email or talk to in the app, or private message in the app. So there's lots of options for support to get personalized help on that. So, but I was wondering, what is it that makes it so hard to get in a groove with language arts? And I was thinking through this, and I think that there's a couple of things that might be working here on this, that make it kind of hard to get in a groove. And one thing is, I thought about this week that it is the only subject that isn't, roughly the same each day. If you look at our history, you're reading each day and you're reading from different books, yes, but you are reading definitely each day. And so you may have some activities peppered in. You may be doing the hands-on on certain days when you work those in. But roughly you're doing the same thing. Math, the same thing, unless it's a test day in the upper grades that have tests. You're roughly doing, basically the same thing each day, where you do the practice and then you do your independent work, and then you, have your, the programs are all different. So there's going to be different manipulatives and things like that. But it's roughly the same process each day. I'm thinking the same thing with science. We read, we have questions, activity sheet questions, and then the next day we read and we have activity sheet questions. And we have one experiment day. So that's an exception for science. But for language arts, it's, in elementary and middle, you're doing copy work and dictate, and then it builds up to dictation. Later in the week, you have mechanics practice, you have parts of speech, you have preparing to write, you have writing, you have games and language arts skills with the little cards in the back that you cut out and you use the cards. There's so many different activities that we're doing because language arts covers, I went back and thought back to my early childhood classes where we talked about what language arts covers, and there's thinking and speaking and listening. There's all of these great skills that we're covering. And so in language arts, that encompasses the reading, the writing, the spelling, the grammar. You're covering so many skills. And so basically, if you haven't read about the Sunlight approach and how it works, it is a very strong program. It is very effective. It's worked with many, many, many students. And it can be a great program that, like me, early on, I was ready to let it go a little bit too early. And I, tried something else, like I said, came back to it and never looked back. And that has been, we did 15 years of Sunlight, and that son that I told you about earlier who had, to regain language, basically he sent us a message today. My husband and I received a text message that he made a 97 on his midterm on his complet class, or not complet, English composition, I guess that's what it's called, the freshman English, basically. And so he was so excited about that. He did a great job. So it works well, and it is effective. You are doing so much language arts with, when you think about thinking and listening, you're doing that when you're doing your read alouds in all of your subjects. So that's one of the benefits of Sunlight, is you're covering language arts skills in your history, in your science, when you're doing the great reading that you're doing. With the reading, of course, in all the subjects, writing, spelling, grammar, those are the creative expressions assignments, those things that you do that are different each day. I think that is a key part of why it can be a challenge to find your groove. And one thing that I would say that might be helpful, it was helpful for me, was to look at your week and just know that at the beginning of the week, that assignment is a really short assignment. I saw that people said that one student was mentioning, a mom was mentioning that her daughter finds it tedious. Well, I think there are days that are going to be more challenging than others, but there are days that are just really brief assignments. That copywork dictation day, that's a quick, very short activity, unless you're struggling with handwriting, unless you're struggling with copying from place to place. Those can be a challenge if your child is struggling with those skills. But There are days that are really quick and easy. Just there are questions, maybe a short little part, and it grows, by the year. So maybe check on placement. If a student is finding it tedious, you may want to make sure that you're doing the correct level. If you've chosen by reading level, you can have a different reading level and language arts level. And so maybe talk about to either an advisor if you want to talk on the phone, or one of us if you want to message us or email. Not email, I'm sorry. Message us or send us a note in the app, on the app, or in the private messaging in the app. Then you can, from there, you can ask questions, specifically about placement. But I think if you get that placement right, then some of these days should be very easy and quick. The parts of speech, those are typically questions where you have, the information that they're going to need. It starts off being more geared to the teacher, and then it's gradually in their notes. So make sure you're checking both places, your, notes and their activity sheets, and you should find just what you need. Mark up your instructor's guide. If you're one of those people that likes to keep your copy clean, then I would drop it into something that you could write on with maybe a dry erase marker or whatever, so that you can make it easy. I definitely used highlighting, sticky notes, boxes around what I wanted to, stars, notes in the margin. I wrote on my copy, and I made different colors and made it organized for myself so that when I look at it at a glance, we can just quickly do what we need to do that day. And it was a quick activity for, on their activity sheets with the parts of speech, the mechanics practice, those kind of things. That wasn't a big section. It was usually appropriate for their age, where they could, it was something that we were practicing year to year. And so that usually wasn't tedious for us. The preparing to write and the writing, those are developmental, and for different students, I will tell you that it was a very easy skill for for one of my sons. For my oldest, he's more biology and math geared, and so it took time and development. He's doing amazingly well in that category now, but back at the time that he was young, when he was a younger guy, that was one of the skills that it was a challenge for him to learn to write his ideas on paper. That took time. And so it is a developmental skill. A lot of that is patience and working with them, helping them, staying positive, being the coach, helping them with ideas. If you don't like, writing prompts was mentioned. If you don't like the writing prompt for a day, it is totally fine to change that slightly, make it something that they're interested in. If it's if it talks about a trip and they say, can I tell you instead about going on a road trip or something like that? Can I tell you about when we went to see the horses? Yes, definitely, make it flexible and find their interests and something that's going to engage them, that they want to write about. If it's something that they want to write about, then that's going to be easier for them to have the ideas and move from there. Help them put things on paper, notes. If they're very young, of course, we have lots of places that we talk about scribing. That's helpful. But just even beyond those years where you're scribing, if you could just get some things on paper for notes for them, I wouldn't, at a certain level, you do want them to start putting that pencil in their hand and actually doing the writing. And if you are at that level where you're like, okay, you need to be able to write a paragraph and I'm going to help you, but I'm not going to do the whole, I'm not going to scribe for you anymore. If you get to that level, then still it's okay to help them with ideas, because it can just be hard to start from scratch. And so I would just encourage you to help make it, stay positive, make it fun, and add ideas. If you're having trouble with ideas and it's just not your favorite subject, then definitely reach out for with some specific questions about that, and we can help with that in the app or with an advisor. Advisors are amazing. I talk to advisors and they would just give me this one little tweak and it would help in whatever area. But the more specific you can be, that's helpful. And then someone talked about being finished early in other areas, and then maybe they're only on week 30 with language arts and they're almost finished with reading and almost finished in these other subjects. And that is totally normal. It can be a harder subject, there's developmental things going on, and I think it's totally fine. I would encourage you, if you're in week 30 and this is March, you're doing amazingly well. So week 30 at this point is not a bad thing. I think that's actually quite good. So basically, I would encourage you that it doesn't have to you don't have to end up your year all at the same time. That's totally normal. Sometimes it was math for us. Sometimes it was language arts. Sometimes I thought it was going to be one subject for the rest of our lives, and then it would be something different the next year. Oh, we didn't finish science, or, whatever it is. So I think that it is totally okay if you're not finished at the same time. And I would just encourage you, that doesn't, mean you did a terrible job in the subject or that it's going so badly. I think it just means that this took a little extra, a little extra work this year. And that's fine, because anything we're working hard on, we're building, we're growing. So I would say, again, just acknowledge that every day is different in this subject, where other subjects we're kind of doing a lot of more of the same each day than we are with all of these skills that we're doing in language arts. And that's totally fine. And then the other thing that I thought about with this is that it could be hard to get into a groove, because you might get off track, as you go through the year. Because you're covering so many skills in so many areas that we listed with language arts. There's so much to it. So as you're doing that, it can be easy to kind of get lost in that, because there's, you're doing, one week you're doing, maybe we're talking about something in mechanics, and the next week we move on to something else, and we're talking about parts of speech, and then we're moving on to another language arts concept. And then one week we might focus more on writing. So there's all of these skills. I would say really what might help you to stay on track week to week, look at your weekly overview, look at that ahead of time. If I can look at that maybe on a Saturday or Sunday, that is the main thing that I want. Language arts was the main thing that I wanted to kind of be looking ahead and be on track with. And one thing that I've mentioned a lot of times is that I would take the scope and sequence from the back of the guide, and this just changed my world when I started doing this. I would go back in the back in section 3 or section 4 and get that scope and sequence and bring it to the front. And I had it front and center. For years I had it on like in the front of my notebook. So it was actually on the outside, so I could kind of see and kind of look at it before I went to bed the night before. Okay, we've covered this, we've covered nouns. Now we're going to cover like adjectives or articles or whatever it was that day. This is what we're going to be working on. And so then if I'm making breakfast and I think of, or if you're making breakfast, I don't tend to make breakfast, but if you are making breakfast and you think about something that you want to mention to your students, then you can mention it to them. If you are driving down the road and you see, you can play a game that's related to the, adjectives or something, I spy something fluffy, or I spy something bright, and use, make it fun as you're going, and just implement what you're doing during your day. That helped me to just focus and to kind of expand what we were working on and make it a little bit fun. And I enjoyed that. So that scope and sequence helped me just to kind of get the big picture. This is where we've been, this is what we're doing today, and this is where we're going. And you had that for the entire 36 weeks. I love those pages. Those, if you haven't found those yet, look in the back section of your instructor's guide and pull that and put it front and center, so that that can kind of keep you organized and kind of keep you on track. At least it did for me. And then, I was going to say about the, different days of the week. If you want to, there's no rule that you can't rearrange those days. So if I know that, the writing assignment falls on a Wednesday or a Thursday or whatever it is in your program, and that is just a busy day for us, we're not going to have extra time, and that copywork assignment would be really great on that day, it's fine to do that. Now, dictation, you're going to want to look at early in the week, and then you're going to have that end of the week where you're going to go over it. So I think that might be one that you might want to leave where it is and kind of maybe bump your writing assignment to a Saturday or sometime when you have more time in your schedule. But I would really start with looking at your schedule and where can you place language arts in your daily schedule that is going, and your weekly schedule, where especially those days that require more time, and you can kind of estimate after you've done a week or two, kind of look at it and think, okay, the mechanics practice or the copywork dictation is taking us about this long. The mechanics practice is taking us about this long. Parts of speech, if it's a parts of speech assignment or a preparing to write assignment or a writing assignment, find, or that game, the language arts skills, find, look at that, kind of write it, kind of track it a little bit. And if you're seeing that there's one activity that's taking you longer, then really think about where you're putting that in the daily and in the weekly schedule. So scheduling can be key here. So I hope those are helpful. There's a book from Sunlight, or you could find it probably anywhere. It's The 3 R's by Ruth Beechick. That's a great book that kind of helps you. It's short if you want to look at that this summer as you're preparing for the new year. That could be really great in helping you to understand that Sunlight is really based on the things that I learned in my education program. I was certified K-8. If the ideas behind the Sunlight program, it is a non-traditional program, but it really covers those, the thinking, the speaking, the listening, all those skills that students are building in language arts. It's so strong with Sunlight. So the Ruth Beechick book. There's also in the language arts section of the Sunlight website, there's an ebook that's great with the material that you can look at, and that's a great resource. And then also we're available if you have any questions. We would love to help. Okay, so that is about language arts, and definitely chime in with questions. Definitely, if you are watching the replay, add your questions, and we'll go from there. But another great question that I received was about the integer block kit, and do we need the integer block kit? And I will tell you, just kind of as, over the years, seeing Sunlight and seeing people order, especially all subjects packages, at times, I don't know if it comes with the all, anyway, I'm not going to go into details about that. Basically, when you receive your package, whatever package you received, often we see people, they order then about, a month later, and they order this kit. And so it comes with these manipulatives that look like this. There's all these different colors, and you can see they're different sizes. I'm dropping things. But I put together a few here so you can kind of see how they work and help you to see the concept. So here you can clearly see the blue blocks are 10, and the pink is 3, and the cream color is 7. And so there's all of these cream colored 7s here in the kit. And your student will start to, there's a component that helps you remember the facts when you're using color, and you're actually seeing the concept. And when they work on these problems and they use these manipulatives, it helps them to really get an understanding of what all of these things mean. What is 3 plus 7 equals 10? What does that mean? These show them. Here's another. You can clearly see 4 plus 6 equals 10. And then, 9 plus 1 equals 10. And there's all different, you can see all different manipulatives here that the students work with. And it's not just addition, there's subtraction, all the way up to algebra, algebra, geometry, advanced math, up to advanced math concepts are coming from, you're learning them with these blocks. And there's, when you get to the algebra decimal insert kit, a level that requires that, this is what it looks like. And the specific question that I had this week is, if you're getting algebra, do you really need this base, like the integer block kit to go along with it if you're already getting this? And so I'm going to open it up and show you what's inside it so that you can see that this is going to have pieces that go along with the block kit. So they go together and they actually snap together. Okay, and there's different concepts. So these are things that you're adding to the kit that you already have. A lot of people already have it, but if you're new in algebra, then yes, you are going to want both, because this isn't going to have, the things that you need. It's just going to have these little pieces that you add to the, the original integer block kit that you have. So the answer is yes, you're gonna want that. And I know I am definitely one that would want to just get what I need, or maybe budget and plan and get the most reasonable thing that needs to be done, but not extras. Definitely many years I just was looking for not extras. And so I understand that. And I would tell you that one thing that I would do is I would order my major order, and then if there was something else that I could order in another month just to help that budget, maybe I had saved for my major order for the year, and then I might wait and order the rest maybe later in the summer or that kind of thing. That's definitely an idea if you would like to do that. But I would say that here's there's a little insert that's in the algebra decimal insert kit. I'm not sure if this comes in the Matthew C. integer block kit, but it talks about why use math manipulatives to teach math. And it talks about how it develops a positive attitude toward learning. You engage multiple senses to strengthen long-term memory. We are currently using Singapore math. We have to switch Matthew C. Do we need everything? You can talk with an advisor about exactly what you're getting, or let's see. But I do think that this is kind of addressing the question of, do we need the manipulatives? They connect symbols to number concepts, so it's part of the program and it's helping you learn. And I will tell you that on the video, my guys, the first video we watched with Mr. Demi, the teacher, he will explain that if you're not, basically that you need the manipulatives as part of the program. And I think I don't think he's talking about you need to buy this. I think he's more talking to the student that, if a parent has purchased this and it's on the shelf, he's explaining to the student, you really don't need to skip any of these steps because all of these things are important. You see abstract mathematical ideas in concrete form. You understand the reasoning behind problem-solving methods and linking mathematical concepts for pre-K through 12. And so they're not just adding this on because, this is another thing that we could put in here. This is a really crucial part of the program from what I can see with my guys using it. So you're welcome. I think it's Rachel. Yes. And so definitely. I do think that it is helpful, but again, you can kind of play around with when you order it and that kind of thing. But I do think that it is crucial, and Mr. Demi will address that need in the video, kind of as a way to talk to the student. Okay. So that's that. And then another question I had was about screen time in schoolwork. This is basically for elementary age, middle, and high. And I think the question was more about, for sunlight, how much screen time is there? That's the way I understood the question. But if that is not what you meant, the person who asked this question, you can correct me in the comments after, on the replay, and I'll be glad to help there. But basically, screen time in schoolwork for elementary age, I would say is not so much. It depends again on your choices. So your choice for math, that will be dependent on your choice for math. With Horizons, I did not use a video. With Matthew C, I did. There is a video component if that matters to you. And then a Saxon, I did not use a video until basically when I started needing more time, and when my student was wanting more independence, and when I was wanting to, when we were getting to the part that I don't remember because it was all buried behind the preschool years and the baby years, and I, started thinking, okay, I know 5 to the 0 power is 1, but I can't explain why. When I got to that point, I thought, okay, we need to do the videos, and so we purchased the dive videos from Sunlight, and then I also purchased the Sunlight teacher videos from Sunlight, which is every problem in the Saxon book worked out at the board, and I really loved having that. So I had both resources that, I just felt better having that insurance on the shelf. But those are, it just depends on your choice. And those, the Saxon teacher videos were really used as a reference for us. We pulled them out sparingly. I mean, we didn't pull them out every day, maybe once or twice a week at the most, I would say. But it was valuable to me because I, know those math concepts are important, and I could not remember. So I liked having those when we needed them. But yeah, it just depends on your choices for screen time. But I would say Sunlight Virtual and LAMP, I don't know if they're calling it LAMP or LAMP, I haven't heard, but that I'm not gonna, you might have to ask specifically for the program that you're using, but I would say that with elementary, it's going to be very, very limited, and then we have the videos for the science video, the science experiment video. So there's that. There's going to be times that a lot of people will talk about, extra things that they did. So you have a choice in that, but I would say far less in the regular Sunlight program. Now with Sunlight Virtual and with the language arts, the new, I think that's for high school right now. I looked that up and looked a little bit of information about that, but I think that's mainly for high school. But yes, I'm not going to know all of the details on that, but Sunny might know more than I do. Sunny, if you want to chime in on that. Or for middle, I would say that's maybe increases a little more when you get into the math videos, if you start using math videos in middle school. And then for high school, my guys had a little more increase, but still we were mainly with Sunlight. The beauty of that is that you're doing a lot of reading still. We might, in the middle grades, we got the Jim Weiss CDs for example, middle grades to early high school. We did the Story of the World recordings along with reading, and my guys enjoyed doing that. And so, it just depends on your choices. But if you want more, then you can have a little more, and then if you make choices on math or on, all the things, all the subjects, basically it just depends on your choices. Thank you, Sunny. LAMP is going to be available for levels 1 through 400 in 2024. Hopefully new levels will come out in future years. Yes, that's what I saw on the website, just high school. Or 100 through 400, whatever you're doing those. So thank you. So yeah, I'm going to say that's going to vary. But if you really, if you look, there's usually, there are usually some estimates on that. Does anyone else have any questions that are just burning questions? This is getting a little longish, so I'm going to stop here in just a moment. You can always ask in the replay comments, and we can look there. So if I don't see any questions. So thank you for joining me today. Thank you for asking questions, and you guys had some great ones, and I hope that this was helpful. As always, catch the replay and ask in the comments if you have questions. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks.